everyone, I am back. It's time to sew another. Okay, so we're on to the stitching, and the first step is for us to take the centerpiece and sew these darts. So I need to know what is the seam allowance for this pattern. Most garments are 5/8 of an inch, but it's usually best to check the sewing information to make sure that you're using the right seam allowance. So this is the sewing information, and in there it says the seam allowance. Let me bring it a little closer. I should use 1/2 inch. Okay, so it's 1/2 inch seam allowance for this pattern. So it's a good thing we checked. So always do that. Not every pattern will be 5/8 of an inch. This particular hat pattern is 1/2 inch. So we'll proceed now to stitch the darts at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Alright, so I'm on the wrong side of the centerpiece. I've taken off the tissue paper, and so I'm on the wrong side with the markings. So I am doing the darts. So there's a marking here, a little dot. You simply pinch that dot and the raw edges of these two together, and grab a couple pins and start pinning at the 1/2 inch mark all the way up to the marking dot. So that's what we're doing. I've already done this one, this side. So same method, pinch and grab the raw edges together like that, and then pin along the seam allowance, and then I'll be stitching it in the machine all the way down. So this will be one dart, and this will be the second dart. So both darts are stitched. I'm just showing you the stitch is a narrow zigzag. Alright, it's not a straight stitch, it's a very narrow zigzag because it's a hat, so I don't expect a lot of tension. So I've opened the darts, slit it to the center mark, opened and pressed it flat. I'm going to trim it in a bit and I'll move on to the next step. Okay, step 2 is to stitch the side edges. So I'm going to stitch along this left side and the right side. The center is here, alright, with the darts. And notice I flipped it now over to the right side. This darker shade gray means I'm stitching on the right side. The plain white is when I did the darts on the wrong side. So I'm just gonna stitch. Stitch is just some narrow stitches along the side here, just to keep it in place. And then we'll be attaching the center pieces in step 3, the left and on the other side, in a curve around these edges that we have stitched. So that's next. So I've stay stitched one side and then we do the other side. So I've stay stitched. If I zoom in a little closely, it's the same narrow zigzag I'm using. So it's the center is beginning to curve almost just from doing the stay stitch. So the darts will be to the back of the head, and this will be the front of the head. So now I'm getting the center pieces. There's a left and a right, and I will be using the curved edge. This curved edge is what will be pinned right side. This is the right side, so the right side of this piece will be matched to the edge that was stay stitch. Okay, so this is the right side of the first side piece. It's curved. Okay, so I'll be matching this curved piece. Since this is the right side, I'll be flipping it to match the right sides together onto the center piece, and I'll be starting to pin from around the curve now. Okay, so the curve is this side. This curve I'll have to pin slowly around this stay stitched edge all the way down. So I'm gonna pin that slowly and get back to you, and I'll be doing that on both sides. Okay, so the curved edge right side to right side should match, and you'll be pinning it to the stay to that edge, and then we will stitch. When we are done, it will be looking like this, the curved edge against the stay stitch, and we'll be stitching it. So then we'll see it begins to take the shape of the head. So I'll pin, show you, and then stitch them together and trim the seams. Okay, so I've pinned the side pieces to the center. Here's the curve of the side piece. Okay, and then here's the other curve around here. As you can see, I've used quite a bit of pins, and I've just overlapped the sides here instead of opening them out, just to show you how it is. So it's a curve this way when it's laid flat. Alright, so on a dome it will open out, and we'll show you how that looks. But this is the pinning process. We're gonna stitch both sides. Okay, so I've finished stitch, so I'm just zooming in to show you what it is. There's a first line, which is when the stitch was done initially, and then you see a second line which has been trimmed very close to this second stitching. That second stitching is just to reinforce it. So it's 2 rows of stitching along the side seam. So I'm just zooming in to show you that, and it was done on both sides, on the other side as well. So now I'm going to press it, and I'll be pressing it towards the center. Okay, so here we have the insides. Remember the darts, then the side edges, the 2 sides pinned to the center, double stitched, and so now we have the lower back edge, right, turned up by the fold line, and this will form a casing to put the elastic in. So it's pinned, and we'll be stitching this lower back edge and to form the casing. These side edges were pressed towards the center, darts were pressed opened out. So that's basically the shape of it, lying flat, almost like a hood. effect, like wearing a hat, which is what we're making. Okay. Okay, so the casing has been stitched and trimmed. Alright, I've just added a label in the center here. And so that's where we're at. We've completed step 4. And this is the, let me zoom in, this is the diagram with the casing completed. I've just added a label in the middle. Alright, so we're moving on to the next step.